Hi there, this is Dylis Guyan, and welcome to the Inspired Selling Podcast, the place where business owners who are selling to bigger businesses discover how to attract, convert, and retain more of their ideal clients. But more importantly, they also find that inspiration and motivation to overcome any of those challenges that sometimes can just paralyze you into inaction. And that really is going to be the essence of what we talk about today with my guest, Gavin Bell. And Gavin is a multi-award-winning entrepreneur. His work is featured in Virgin.com, Huffington Post, TheEntrepreneur.com, Fire Kiss Metrics? I haven't heard about that one, Gavin, but you might tell us about that. And Social Media Examiner. And you might think, well, yeah, that's all very well. You know, there's lots of people have done that. And yes, they have. But Gavin is 23. And so I'm really excited to hear his story, how he started and got to where he is today. So, Gavin, big welcome to you.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Oh, you're very welcome. I think you're my youngest guest.
Take that.
Ever. And I think I said to you before, I could be your mummy. I could nearly be your grandma.
Brilliant.
So Gavin, tell us, how did you get into entrepreneurial work? How did you get started?
Yeah, so I guess my story starts way up north in the Shetland Islands. And for those people that don't know where the Shetland Islands are, it's kind of a group of islands as far north as you can go in the UK and Scotland. So I'm currently sat in Edinburgh right now where I live. The Shetland Islands are actually closer to Norway than they are to Edinburgh. I grew up there, a small community of around 20,000 people, and kind of always had, I don't know where it came from because I don't come from an entrepreneurial family, but always had that kind of entrepreneurial fire in the belly, or showed the symptoms from an early age, if you want to call it that, where I was doing things like cutting neighbours' grass. I was always, at the age of 14, I built my first website and was doing drop shipping. So I was buying and selling things from China, never making...
At 14?
Yeah, never making... Yeah.
Fantastic.
Never making huge amounts of money. You hear of like the Gary Vaynerchuk. He said he was making like $3,000 a week or something. I was probably making like £3 a week, but it was showing the symptoms at the time. And then kind of just went through school, always had that in me. And what happens in the Shetland Islands when everyone hits 18 or that school leaving age is you get sent, you go down to what they call down south, which is basically mainland UK, to go to university. And school and parents were trying to push me to go to university, but I knew it wasn't for me because I had this dream of running my own business. Luckily, I came across something called the Peter Jones Enterprise Academy, which is one of the entrepreneurs from Dragon's Den runs kind of business academies around the UK, and I studied there for a year, set up my first property.
Sorry to interrupt you, Gavin. Do you have to apply for that? Or is it like they go out looking for talent?
So at the time it was apply. I'm not sure what it is now. I think it's I don't know if you have to apply anymore, but at the time you had to apply and then go through an interview process to get in. And so I set up a business there where I basically took personal trainers and put them into corporate environments to run fitness sessions around the kind of corporate well-being world. That business made no money, and during the running of that business, I had relationships with personal trainers and started to see that they were actually typically terrible at marketing themselves. They'd be going after the kind of 50-plus-year-old that was just looking to lose a bit of weight, but their Instagram was all six-pack abs and broccoli and chicken. And so I was like, there's probably something I can do here to help them. And that's kind of when I moved into the social media space, and that would have been around 2 years ago. I decided to take that leap, and over those 2 years, I kind of then started to carve a niche into the Facebook advertising world, and that's kind of taken me where I'm at now. And one of the things a lot of people know me for now is my vlogs. And I started vlogging at the end of 2016, and really just, to be honest, as a way to stay relevant as a marketer and just to be creating video. But they slowly started to move from that into kind of me, what I'm interested in personally, as opposed to business, which is kind of getting outdoors, exploring, and really just making people smile, just entertaining people. And since that kind of switch, they've kind of taken off as well, and they're starting to grow arms and legs. So that's kind of me. I'm excited for 2018, and that's it.
So when you were doing your vlog, and you were just doing these sort of random videos, weren't they? Mm-hmm. And you built those up. So how many do you have now? How many vlogs have you published?
So my process for starting the vlog was probably mid 2016. I created my first video, and that was just a standard how to grow Twitter followers video, very, very basic. And there was no real structure to that. And I think I hit around September 2016 where I was like, right, I need to take this seriously. But I know I'm not very good on camera, because nobody really is when you first start. And so I decided to take on a challenge of 100 vlogs in 100 days. And that basically just included me picking up my phone and speaking into it for 100 days. Right. No editing, no real kind of thought behind it. Just, for example, today I might have been like, had a good podcast interview, blah, blah, blah. This is what I learned. This is what we spoke about. And that kind of got me comfortable in front of camera. And then at the end of those 100 days, I started the proper, what I call like the weekly vlogs, which is what I've been doing now for a year. So there's on my YouTube channel, there's probably like 300 videos, but I like to say my videos really actually started kind of at the end of 2016, and there's probably like 50, 60 odd of those. Been once a week since the end of 2016.
Brilliant. And I refer to this as exposing yourself, metaphorically speaking. And I don't know, do you know Mark Schaefer?
Yep.
Yeah, I had him as a guest on the show. And of course, his message is about becoming known. That's one of the titles of one of his books. And it's interesting that you have taken that on board in terms of you raising your profile and people starting to follow you and so on, because I know that you speak around the world now. You know, you're a very sought after chap, as the people who are viewing this would see, you know, not just with your expertise, you're a very handsome chap. But this is really a very important and essential element these days, isn't it? Because we've got more options now, more opportunities to be able to get our voice heard. And yet in some ways, and in many ways, it's harder because there's so much noise out there.
100%. It's never been harder, and I think it'll probably only get harder. And I think for me, for the vlog, I'll give you a little bit of an insight into one of the things I learned was when I first started doing the weekly vlogs, it was more like a day in the life of me as a kind of business person. My philosophy was, yes, I can create tons and tons of kind of social media, Facebook ad related content and put that out into the world. But I wanted to kind of just flip it and go, what if I actually didn't make that type of content, but I made content that actually performed better on Facebook? And then people liked who I was, and then they go, oh, actually Anthony's got this Facebook ad thing. Because when I was creating Facebook ad related content, you would get the number of views that you get was much smaller than when I created the kind of outdoorsy type content. But I know if I've got a video that's got 200,000 views, let's say, I know within that 200,000 people, there will be a small percentage of people that are still my ideal customer.
Yeah.
But I'm just because I'm not hitting them with a Facebook ads marketing message doesn't mean that they're not going to be interested in working with me anyway.
Yeah.
So I tried flipping that, and it seems to work.
Yeah, it certainly has worked. Goodness me, you are such a highly sought after person in terms of work and, as I said, speaking. So as you know, my audience is business owners who sell to bigger businesses or smaller businesses. And what advice would you give them to start and get them their position in their marketplace?
Hmm. So I think I would say to them, well, obviously, who exactly is it that you're targeting? I.e., the role within the company. And unfortunately, with Facebook advertising, we used to be able to target people based on where they worked. So we used to be able to say, I want to target people that work at X company or have the X job title. Facebook removed that functionality. It's still there, but very, very limited, because that was absolutely ideal, where I could say, I want to work with, let's just say, Boots. I want to work with Boots. So I'm going to create a video ad saying, hey, I know you work at Boots. I would like to speak to your marketing director, please. And just serve that to the people that work at Boots. Right. And hopefully they would pass it on. So we used to be able to do that. Unfortunately, it's a little bit harder. So my philosophy really, to be honest, when it comes to, from what I do, video on Facebook, is if you can, in fact, here's another tactic. One of the things that I'm looking to do this year is actually to combine LinkedIn and Facebook. So if you can use LinkedIn to connect with the people that you want to reach, so let's just say it's marketing directors. So connect with as many marketing directors as you can and create content on LinkedIn, as you would. But you can also export the email addresses of people on LinkedIn and into a CSV file. And then on Facebook, we can actually upload email addresses to Facebook. So we can take your LinkedIn connections, upload it to Facebook, and serve an ad to them. And if you serve an ad to them saying, hey, we're connected on LinkedIn, why don't we connect here on Facebook? Or, hey, we're connected on LinkedIn, why don't you download my free guide? Or, hey, we're connected on LinkedIn, let's jump on a call. Something along those lines. If you're connected to them on LinkedIn, you're creating content to them, you're creating content on LinkedIn, and they're seeing that, hopefully engaging with it. And then they see you on Facebook as well. That's 3 touches already that you're having with that person. And if you can then, depends on the ad on your Facebook, but if you're asking them to opt into something, you've then hopefully got their email address. I would never take their email from LinkedIn and add them to a newsletter, but if they opt in themselves on Facebook, then you've got them again on your email. So that's a tactic that I'm going to start using this year, is combining Facebook and LinkedIn, and I think that's going to be a pretty solid.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I hadn't thought about using my LinkedIn emails for Facebook ads.
Yeah,
that's really excellent. And do you think that the B2B market is kind of a little bit averse to Facebook? I'll tell you why I'm saying that. I was working with a sales team this week, and Facebook wouldn't even consider it. But with what you're just talking about, there's obviously avenues to explore.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's silly to completely ignore Facebook because you're B2B. Don't get me wrong, it's probably easier in a B2C world. But there's 2 billion people that use Facebook, and I can guarantee that if you're going after a marketing director or whatever it is, they are on Facebook.
Yeah.
But this is where people get it wrong. Just because that person is on Facebook doesn't necessarily mean that they're interested in hearing what you have to say when they're on Facebook. When people are on Facebook, they're typically sat on the toilet, lying on the sofa, in bed. They're not wasting time, but they're probably they probably are using Facebook to waste time. They're speaking to friends and family, and so you're competing against all these things. So even though you're identifying somebody on Facebook from a B2B standpoint, if they're speaking to their friends and family whilst they're lying on the sofa at 9 o'clock at night with a glass of wine, putting an ad in front of them or a message in front of them that's like, sign up to my mailing list, just because they're interested in that doesn't make sense. So you have to be wary of the mindset that somebody's in when they're using the platform. And that's kind of why I went for a more personal approach to my vlogs, because I know that type of content is more appealing than Facebook ad related content when somebody is on Facebook using Facebook.
Right.
Understanding why they're using it.
Yeah. So you're really creating the know, like, and trust element with your personal stuff. And I've looked at some of your in the day of, Gavin, and they're great. Up in the Highlands and all sorts of different videos, really engaging. And it gives that insight of you as the person. So I can see how you're using that as kind of a bridge over to the to the business side
Totally.
of what you do.
And then I think to add on to that is, like I say, there's nothing stopping me then retargeting people that have watched my videos that are also business owners, because we've got that functionality. And I think another way that Facebook is super powerful for B2B is simple retargeting.
Yeah.
So if people are, and this is where you can combine Facebook with the likes of Google, if people are coming to your website from Google, chances are they are actively interested in what it is that you're offering, because they've typed in something, they found your site, so there's intent there from them. If they then land on your website, chances are, because most people don't take the action that you want them to take, they'll land on your website, get what they want, and they'll leave. If you can retarget them on Facebook just to say, hey, notice that you're on the website, here's the next step, whatever that next step is for you, then you know that doesn't have to cost you a lot. Like if you're, most businesses aren't really getting huge amounts of traffic to their site, so you could set up a little retargeting ad that goes at like £1 a day to just say retarget anyone that's visited our website to remind them to come back or to take a specific action.
Can you just expand on that, Gavin? You
Sure.
said create an ad, because I thought it was a pixel that you put onto your website.
Yeah. Sure.
Or a pixel in your ad.
So you're right. So the Facebook pixel is a piece of code that goes onto your website. So anyone that wants to create a retargeting ad based on website traffic needs to have what's called the Facebook pixel installed on their site. It's super simple to go to. I've got some free resources on YouTube, so we can get that in the show notes. How to install the pixel. It's like a 2-minute job, and that code then goes on your site, and whenever somebody lands on your website, it does what's called fires. So it fires, and then we can then in Facebook create an advert that then goes to the people that have visited our website. So the process for that would be install the pixel on the website, create what's called a website traffic custom audience, which basically just says it creates an audience of people that have been on our website, and then when we create our advert and we're choosing our targeting, we simply choose that audience that we created of people that have visited our website.
Okay. And do you do one of your personal ads to these people, or do you do a business-led type of ad? Marketing, something free, or for them to have a conversand with you? What sort of ad would you put out there?
I think it completely depends on who you are, what you're trying to do, and what action you want people to take. So for me, something that's worked really well is actually me just saying, and the ad actually says, hey, smiley face, thanks for visiting my website, really appreciate it. If you want to know how I've created this ad, an ad like this, then just drop me a message.
Nice.
So that's quite a personal way, but it also has a business connotations to it as well. If it's a very kind of corporate business, you could just say, hey, or we saw that you visited. You don't even have to say, hey, it could just be download our free guide. And because they'll have already seen the logo, the business name, the branding, they're probably more likely to trust you and to take that action that you want them to take. What probably won't work, well, it's not that it won't work, but what I'd say to be wary of is thinking of the commitment level that the person has to take. So just because someone's visited your website doesn't mean they're ready to jump into bed with you.
Yeah.
So don't try and expect the world just because you're retargeting people to visit your website. However, if it's like e-commerce, for example, and someone's been actively searching for products on your site and then you retarget them, that can work really well. Another really interesting point just on that is we can create the website traffic audiences that we can create can be more specific than just saying have visited the website. We can say if they visited a specific URL or if they visited the blog or a specific blog. And so we can then tailor our messages even more specifically. If we know someone has visited a blog, we can target them with a message that has specific copy relating to that blog. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. It's fascinating, and I'm aware of retargeting and using pixels and so on, but some of those little elements I hadn't thought of in terms of just making it a very light ad that somebody would read, and because they'd been to the website they would read that ad and it would feel very personal to them as an individual.
That's what it's all about. It's like, how can we create adverts that don't actually feel like adverts?
Yeah.
But still move people through this kind of journey of knowing, liking, trusting us, and becoming customer.
Right. So is this just all self-taught then, Gavin?
Yeah, pretty much.
I just want to remind everybody you're 23 and a 14 built your own website. But so you've just learned this and bought books and learnt online and so on.
Pretty much. I think I've got one of the things I'm interested in is you've got Facebook as a tactic, i.e. it's a platform that will always change. But like marketing and communication as a thing,
it's sort of a static, isn't it?
A principle, yeah, will never change.
Yeah.
And it's how do we use the tactic that we have, i.e. Facebook, and apply the principles to that. And so things like all this retargeting, etc., is really just a way to make the journey of someone kind of fluid fashion.
Yeah. So has it all been plain sailing for you?
I wouldn't say that. I don't think this journey. It's a journey that I absolutely love. I wouldn't change it for the world, but I think it was Elon Musk that said something along the lines of entrepreneurship's a journey that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
So it's. I think I've to be honest, I've never had one of those moments or stories that you quite often hear where it's like I was £1 million in debt. And here's how I turned
it. Eating cat food.
Yeah, and here's how I turned it around in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I've never had anything like that. But I think probably the hardest thing for me is, which I think everyone goes through, is just like the kind of in your own head, in terms of I want to be further along than I am. It can get quite lonely working from home all the time, etc. So when things aren't working out, or when you lose a client, or whatever it may be. All these things kind of are just little, like, they just pick away at you. But so I think that's probably the hardest bits. And I think probably like someone described it quite well recently, which was when you first kind of get into the entrepreneurship world, you celebrate the highs and you take the lows really, really deeply. But you kind of learn to just level off and don't really celebrate the highs. But and you also understand that the lows are just part of the journey as well.
Yeah.
So I think I'm quite good at that kind of stability now, in terms of, like, I'll be quite honest, December was quite a tough month for the business, but I know from kind of 2 years of experience now that January is always an amazing month for the business. And so there's no point in worrying about it. Yeah.
And I say this to my family, and I say it to my clients too. Look, don't worry, just do.
Yeah.
Because you could worry and worry and worry, and it may not happen. So you've wasted all of that time worrying. Or you could worry, and it does happen. Well, the worry didn't stop it from happening. So
exactly.
Put that energy from, instead of worrying, put that into doing. And, putting things into action, because things do turn around. It's the same in my business. I've been in business now for 17 years, self-employed, and there's been highs and lows, but I know if I put the activity in, it just comes back.
Yeah.
And now, after all of these years, it's much more stable, but it is. And I do want to get this message over to business owners and entrepreneurs, that this is the life of being self-employed. It's just how it is. But it's this mindset. It's what you referred to before about this thing going on in your head. And that can be your biggest enemy, can't it? That negative chatter that goes on and paralyzes you into inaction and has you think, oh, God, what on earth's going to happen? But how has it been for you? Let me just ask you, when you've had those lows, how have you managed mentally to get out of them?
I think probably just being aware of the bigger picture.
Right.
In terms of, I kind of understand that that's a price that you're going to pay for having the amazing life of being self-employed.
Yeah.
Like, if you think of in the bigger picture, I can get up when I want, do what I want, when I want. Don't have to ask anyone for holidays. And if we want that kind of 1% life, then there's obviously going to be downside to that. It's not all fun and games. So I think being aware of that, being aware of the bigger picture, and that, like, I am only 23, and there's just so much time and things to kind of get what I want. So whenever I'm feeling like I want to be further along, just give myself a wake up call, really. So I think for me, just being completely aware of the bigger picture, and that these day-to-day things don't actually really make that much of a difference in a kind of 5-10 year period.
Yeah, indeed. And a lot of the listeners and viewers won't have that situation where they've got youth on their side. There'll be some who are a lot older and thinking, yeah, well, that doesn't apply to me because I haven't got that as many years as you have. But the principle's the same, isn't it? It's just looking at, and I'm such a firm believer in making sure that you know what that bigger picture is. I always talk about begin with the end in mind and start with your objective, and then break that down, and then have a plan of what you need to do, and just stick to it, and just keep being dedicated to it, even in the times when you think it's not going so well, or you've lost a client, or it's been a rubbish day. Just get on with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Just JFDI, just flipping do it.
Yeah.
I don't see the rude version of that. So just to round up then, Gavin, what would your one piece of advice be to the B2B entrepreneur, business owner?
My one piece of advice, I would say, what's your thing, as in your business or the offer that you're going, who's it that you're going after? And how can you try and become the Wikipedia of that industry? So how can you be the person that pops up number one on Google whenever somebody types in a query around that? How can you be the type of person that whenever somebody asks their friend on Facebook, can you help me with this? You're the person that they think of. And that's not going to happen overnight, but it's a kind of long-term thing that you've got in your head of, that's what I'm trying to become. And if you have that, then you've got the audience. You'll start to build the audience, in which, when you have an audience, when you have an audience, a big audience of people that love you, you can really do whatever you like. Because clients that I've worked with that have massive audiences, whatever they put in front of them, they buy. So your Facebook ads are going to be super powerful because you can just retarget that audience. You with the content, you're building a huge asset which you can sell eventually one day. And so I think for the B2B market is, if you can start to build this kind of Wikipedia for the thing that you're trying to sell, your offer, everything else falls into place. Excellent.
And that really is content, isn't it? In terms of podcasts or videos or blogs, vlogs, and just putting yourself out there and exposing yourself, metaphorically speaking.
100%.
And it will attract. And I mean, you are just a case in point. You haven't even been doing it that long, but there seems to be a mindset. I know we're just about to close, but I would like to cover this. There is a bit of a mindset in the B2B world of not getting involved in blogging, vlogging, videos, podcasts, and so on. But there's nothing to stop them.
No, 100%. I think there's, in the B2B world, I mean, I'm in the B2B world. I think there's still a mindset of it's done by going to networking events and shaking hands, which I'm not saying doesn't work at all, but we need to understand what consumers are like these days. And a B2B consumer is no different than a B2C consumer.
Yes.
Still humans at the end of the day, and we want to find things online without having to speak to anyone. And so, I think an interesting thing for everyone to do would be that anyone that's listening to this that's still not convinced would be audit yourself in terms of how do you act as a consumer. And I guarantee, if you're buying something, I guarantee the first place that you go is Google or asking friends and family for recommendations. And it's not going into the shop and asking a salesperson first off the bat. And if that's what you're doing as a consumer yourself, you need to be looking at your business and saying, well, how are people or how would people be trying to consume me? And if people can't find you online, if people that don't know who you are can't find you online, then you're missing a trick, because they're finding someone else.
Yeah, that encapsulates it perfectly. That was a really great analogy. So Gavin, thank you very much. It's been really fantastic talking to you. I'm inspired. Just looking at your website, in fact, inspired me, reading your story and so on. But tell us where people can find you if they would like to know more about Facebook ads and, really get the benefit of your experience and knowledge.
Yeah, they can just head to my website, mrgavinbell.com.
Dead easy, that, isn't it?
Yeah. I've got a free blueprint there that people can get involved in, and that will take them through all the content that I've got from Facebook. Or if people want to watch my videos, then Mr. Gavin Bell on Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah. I've been watching quite a number of your videos on YouTube. They're really great.
Thank you.
So that's mrgavinbell.com.
Yep.
Mr. Gavin Bell on YouTube, and where else did you say?
And Facebook.
On Facebook.
It's actually Mr. Gavin Bell anywhere. So.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, wherever
actually, even if you just put Gavin Bell in, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
Which is great. Thanks ever so much, Gavin, and I hope we speak again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.